Some superheroes strut around in capes, while others rock pixie boots and a trendy poncho. Because, yes, you are looking at a real superhero. Hi, I'm Annie, and I'm from New Jersey. Don't be fooled by my cute pink locks and dazzling big blue eyes, because as it turns out, I'm also a bit of a crazy, jealous maniac. You know, every superhero has a weakness. Mine was my dad. My dad was the center of my world. Mom left when I was 3, so it was always me and him. We'd hang out all day, and he'd do whatever I wanted.
Let's jump on your bed and then go fishing for sharks in the park.
I've just made the bed and it's raining outside, but whatever makes you happy, my angel.
My dad was the best. He was my superhero. We did everything together and made a big effort to share each other's interests. For example, he learned the names of all the dogs from Paw Patrol.
You're such a Skye.
In return, I learned to play chess, which was Dad's favorite game.
Kapow! That's a chick and a mate.
One time, when I had a high fever, I asked him not to leave my side for 1 minute.
I promise, Annie, I never will.
And I totally believed him. He even made a pulley system to get the Uber food delivery to my bedroom window without leaving my room. But then, the worst thing happened. A couple of days later, instead of making me breakfast, he grabbed his car keys and let a babysitter in.
I must go to work today, Angel Annie. Teresa will look after you.
No, Daddy, I'll go with you.
I'm sorry, sweetie. I have to go alone. It's for the best.
Why?
Because we need the money to live.
Fine. If you want to leave, you'll have to step over me, and everyone knows that's bad luck.
And to my surprise, he actually stepped over me to leave. I hated babysitters and caused as many problems as I could to get my dad to come back. He used to be late for work pretty much every day and had to sneak out during lunch and leave early to take care of me. So you can imagine what happened next.
I got fired.
Yay! Daddy's at home forever! Yeah!
I was ecstatic, thinking things would go back to normal when I got the biggest shock of my life, kindergarten. I cried all the way and threw a total hissy fit at the front gates.
Why?
To learn and get a good job when you're older.
Jobs suck!
You'll make lots of friends.
Friends suck!
I hated it and let everybody know that I did.
I hate it, 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 I hate it! Stop!
Dad got more calls from the kindergarten than the principal's secretary. I know what you're thinking. I was a little monster. And yes, I was. I just couldn't help it. I wanted to be with my dad so bad. Soon, kindergarten turned to school, but things didn't improve. I felt so alone and sad without my dad, and I was always getting into trouble. But then one day, I got the best news ever.
I know how unhappy you are at school, so I talked with the principal and I'll take a job at your school as a janitor. This way, we can spend all the time you want together, and I can have a job. God knows we need the money. I know it's not glamorous, but would it be too embarrassing for you?
What? Just you and me again? This is the best job ever!
But there is one condition. You must behave, because if not, I'll get fired. You promise?
Oh, I promise. Pinky promise!
And for some years, things were amazing. We drove to school and worked together, sat together at lunch, and whenever he'd go past my classroom mopping the floor, he'd give me a goofy wave. For the first time, I focused on my schoolwork because I didn't want to mess up our arrangement. Other kids were even inviting me to parties.
You should go. Make some friends.
Maybe you could come with me?
Annie, you must learn to do things without me. Rely on other people.
Really? Maybe you're right. I guess I can go for like half an hour. Nah, let's just hang out here and watch TV. But then it all changed. I was supposed to be meeting some peeps at the movies, but then remembered Dad's favorite TV show was on. So I decided to go back home and watch it with him. But when I opened the door, I found that Dad was having dinner with a woman with candles and flowers on the table.
Annie, Angel, I wasn't expecting you. This is Fern, my new friend.
Hello, Annie. I've heard so much about you. It's great to meet you at last. Funny, I've heard absolutely nothing about you.
I was hoping we'd spend some time with Fern, Annie.
Three's a crowd. Suddenly, I felt so jealous. Why would he want to spend time with her and not me? Soon, Fern became a permanent fixture at our place. Despite my grumpy face when she was around, she was always super nice to me. Wanna hit the shops? I have the biggest discount card. Maybe you can use it to buy another book on winning over skeptical teenagers. And at school, Dad was always calling her. She even joined us for lunch some days. I tried to do everything to get his attention when they were together. Like the time in the canteen, she'd made us all sandwiches and I pretended to choke.
poison.
But they were too busy staring into each other's eyes to notice. Soon, Fern moved into the house. And even though I kept moving her things around, she was always calm and supportive. You can always talk to me about anything, you know. I'm fine. You and your dad have such a special relationship. I wouldn't want to come between you two. Well, cheers for that. You can rely on me too. I'll always have your best interests at heart.
Yikes, is that the time?
Gotta run. It felt like Dad was slipping away from me. But at the same time, I was also starting to become independent. During that time, I joined the chess club and quickly showed talent. No doubt thanks to all those games with my dad. I even won the school tournament and got invited to represent the school in an international tournament in Belgium. I knew it was a life-changing trip, but I also knew that my dad's job as a janitor didn't pay much. He would not be able to afford the expenses of such a trip, so I had to decline the offer. I was pretty sad about it, and soon things got even worse. That same afternoon, I got to class, and one of the more popular girls was sitting in my seat, slurping on a milkshake and making fun of me.
Look at me, I'm Annie, and I'm so lame because my dad's my BFF.
Great, that's really mature. Now move your butt from my seat.
Oh no, you better call your personal janitor to clean up this mess.
What mess? I shouldn't have asked, as she threw her milkshake on the floor on purpose.
This mess, what are you waiting for? You better call Daddy.
I jumped on her and tipped the rest of the milkshake over her, and that's when the teacher intervened. I got after-school detention. I was really scared that Dad would find out, but thankfully, he went home after finishing his shift. I was super relieved. But then, on my way out from detention, I heard a weird rustling noise from one of the classrooms. That's odd. Everybody went home already. I thought it was best to get out of there, but suddenly, a man in a ski mask rushed out of a classroom, holding a bag full of the school laptops. Oh no, a thief! I froze in my spot as he spotted me and stopped for a few seconds, then started running down the hallway. As he ran past me, he accidentally hit me with the bag of laptops, and I yelled in pain as I stumbled to the floor.
Oh my god, are you okay?
I looked up in shock as I recognized that voice. Dad? Suddenly, he dropped the bag and ran down the hallway and out of the school. I tried to follow him, but he was too fast. So I sprinted home, and there he was, Dad, completely out of breath and with the ski mask in his hand. The first thing he told me was to keep my voice down so Fern wouldn't hear. Dad, seriously? Stealing from the school? Are you crazy?
Annie, you've got it all wrong.
Oh, really? Ski mask? Swag bag? Come on!
Keep it down, will you? We can't let Fern hear this.
Start talking.
I did it for you, Annie. Professor Parker told me about the chess tournament and the trip to Belgium. He told me that you turned him down without even telling me. I want the best for you. I don't want you to lose out on something like this because of me. But the moment I saw you, I knew I couldn't go through with it. Now, we can't let the police know. They'll lock me up. If you think about it, no harm was done. Nothing was stolen, so everything's great.
Of course, everything wasn't great. While his intentions were sweet, he made a huge mess in school. The principal had reported the attempted robbery to the authorities, and I had to testify in front of the police as the only witness. I couldn't turn in Dad, so I had to lie. I told them that the thief was super short and had green hair. I hoped to keep a low profile about the whole thing, but the next day at school, I was treated like a hero. The girl who saved the school. My hair would have just frizzed out in fear. You're like a real superhero now. Yep, I guess that's me. Want to hang out with us and tell us all about it? And oh, let's snap a selfie. I need to boost my feed with some genuine hero vibes. But the worst thing was, since I caught Dad red-handed, he'd become increasingly clingy and hardly left my side. I guess he was scared I'd confess the truth, but it was really annoying. Like when this really cute boy Warren, who I liked but I didn't think had ever noticed me, talked to me.
Hey, Annie. I'd love to take you out for a burger. Sorry, she's busy.
Dad?
Come on, hun. It's lunchtime. The first one to our seat wins the pudding.
Sorry, Warren. I'll just have to go now. A burger soon, though.
Sure.
But soon, I started hanging out with Warren and his new friends all the time, while Dad's excuses to drop by became increasingly awkward and downright embarrassing.
I came by to check if you seen my lost, mop. Thought I might have wandered into your classroom.
And he'd always pick the worst times to barge in.
I think I'm falling for you in a big way. I think we need to clear the air here.
Dad! I'd had enough, and on the way home, I thought of ways to let him down gently. But I ended up screaming the truth at him in the driveway. Dad, it's time for a reality check. You can't shadow me forever. How about picking up a hobby that doesn't involve stalking me? You're suffocating me. Then he looked down and rolled his puppy dog eyes. I began to feel very guilty. But then big news popped up on my phone. A very short man with green hair had been arrested for the school robbery. And it was all because of me.
Annie, we must go on the run.
No, Dad. You need to confess. Confess to what? And suddenly, we both turned around, and Fern was standing there with the groceries.
To not cleaning the bathroom properly.
You have never cleaned it properly, Annie. Oh, I think my sock drawer needs some reorganizing. Annie, you can tell me anything. I'll always take your side. You can trust me. I didn't tell Fern. I thought she wouldn't understand. I tried to forget the whole thing, but I felt so guilty. That innocent guy was in jail because of me and my dad, and we needed to set the record straight. But I just couldn't turn my father over to the police. That night, I didn't sleep at all. I was so angry at my dad that the next morning, I skipped breakfast and took the bus to school. But when I got there, I saw him getting into a cop car. Dad! Loads of people were standing around, watching and filming, and I was mortified. I tried to make my way through, but when I reached the police car, it drove away from the school. Then the principal came over and pointed at me. Warren and my friends were shocked.
It seems Annie isn't a superhero after all. She was an accomplice to her dad.
I've never felt such deep shame. If I had superpowers, I'd have vanished right there or zapped myself to the North Pole. I covered my face, crying, and was ready to run away from there, but a cop caught my arm. Time to face the music and confess. But when I finally told the truth, I felt like a weight had been lifted from my shoulders. They let me off with just a warning since I was a minor, and my dad took full responsibility. Fern came to pick me up, and I was enraged with her. I knew she couldn't be trusted. How could you betray us like that? I must confess that I heard you guys whispering around. I quickly understood what was happening, and I knew I had to step in. You didn't deserve to live with that huge secret and with the guilt. I knew it was the right thing to call the police, and I was about to do it, but then I just couldn't. Not to save your dad, but because I know how close you guys are and how devastating it would be for you. I just didn't want to hurt you. I started crying. Thank you, Fern, for everything, and I'm sorry for being a brat with you. Fern hugged me firmly, and I hugged her back. During those hard times, we became really close. She took me home and stood firmly by my side through it all. But if you didn't turn him in, then who did? Some weeks later, they allowed me to visit Dad.
I confess everything myself. It was unfair that someone else was arrested, and it felt even worse that you lied for me. I was afraid you'd start hating me for dragging you into my mess, so I gave myself up. I'm so sorry for being such a terrible dad.
Dad started crying, and I soon joined in. No, Dad, you've been the best. I'm sorry I've been so difficult, and you don't need to feel like I'm missing out on anything. Promise, you won't ever do anything like this again.
Pinky promise.
And now, a few months later, Dad has been released, and we're moving with Fern to a new city for a fresh start, and I'm looking forward to making new friends.